We're back, both of you, to another year of fantasy game plan. You may notice we're missing a key member. Ronaldo is still on cloud 9 after watching his Irish just completely mop the floor this weekend with Michigan. So he's running around somewhere still celebrating, I think.
Still celebrating.
But he'll be back next week. So next to me is the director, Crawford, at Crawford76.
Reigning champ.
I will refer to you as Champ, a.k.a. Peyton Manning. Over here is Joey D, who has been to both Fantasy Bowls in the Joe Gibbs Racing League and has lost both times.
Tanked them both.
Good times.
But a champion in my own right, and so are you.
We all won
Respective
championships
leagues.
in some leagues last year. So anyway, we're going to start off, give you a quick draft recap. Sorry, we're a week late. Talk a little bit about the draft. We had a great draft. We expanded our JGR league to 12 teams. All 3 drivers came.
Yes.
They did pretty good.
Well, all 3 drivers. Well, we had a proxy in there, but going from 10 to 12 teams, big game changer. So we had to prepare. And it was a week before the draft. We kind of decided. So it's when you go from 10 to 12, it's a big difference because not that much.
How'd your team turn out, real quick?
My team, top to bottom, just fair to midland. I have a problem running back 2, Trent Richardson.
You do have
I
a
plugged
problem.
Bernard Pearson there. He's awful. Ray Rice is out for the year probably. So
Speaking of duds in week 1, I believe I actually advised you to start Bernard Pierce when you asked.
Yes, you
but
did.
other
Thank
than
you.
that, how about your
Thanks,
team?
Preston.
What did it look like this week?
I
Lost, you mean?
lost to old JJ over there.
Redemption.
He's 0-1. Give us some highlights of your draft. Who's the squad this year?
I got we got Des Bryant in the second round. Drafted Ed Lacy. The first round went out with a concussion.
You call him Ed Lacy? Nice.
What, Ed Lacy? Yeah, we're on a first name basis there. I like Gronk. You did well. Cam Newton out first week, so I started Eli Manning.
Yeah. How about your team, Pern? How's your team?
Wow. There may be some losses this year for Mr. Crawford unless at least he
Could
gets
be a
back on
long
field.
year.
Actually, 2 leagues, my number 1 pick was Jamaal Charles, who would fall into our big panic button for week 1. How can you let the guy only touch the ball 11 times, 7 carries? So
yeah,
I think you'll see a
unbelievable.
heavy dose of Jamaal Charles. So Jamaal Charles owners, don't worry. I think this week he gets it unhitched. He's going to need to against the Broncos. My team was highlighted this week by Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck owners are loving what you saw. Didn't start off real well, but some big surprises. Talking about that, let's shift into week 1. Talk about a few surprises that came out of the box. There were a lot of them.
You
week
know
1.
what, Pern and director, I'm going to go with these rookie wide receivers. I'm impressed. This Brandon Cooks
Brandon
kid.
Cooks.
This kid last night, Floyd, the kid from Carolina, Benjamin. I mean,
Yeah,
these young
impressive.
receivers are coming out, and they're coming out of the box quick. So you got Andrew Hawkins.
Andrew Hawkins, if you haven't picked him up again, somebody has to play the Josh Gordon role in Cleveland. Apparently, it's going to be Andrew
Marquise
Hawkins.
Lee, these kids, now the rules are a little more lenient for wide receivers nowadays, but these kids are unbelievable, and they're picking up the game quick, and they look awesome.
Another good little note here. Mike Wallace down in Miami. Just remember their new offensive coordinator, Bill Lazor, who was the offensive coordinator for Philly last year. Mike Wallace is now the Deshaun Jackson role. I think you're going to see some big things from him. If he's somehow available in your league, get him on the cheap.
And he looked good. And Revis, I didn't know he was on New England. He was covering them all
He was
game.
covering them all game. So that was a
Side
big
note on Bill
surprise.
Lazor. Bill Lazor was our quarterback coach with Coach Gibbs his second go around when we were in Washington. So
I did not know that.
good little pedigree there. From,
You've got
Bill
North
Lazor.
Turner headed to Minnesota. I think you're seeing Cordero Patterson, who generally, again, playing the Josh Gordon role in North Turner's offense from last year.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see big things from him. Speaking of the panic button, so we talked about surprises from week 1. Is there anyone, I know after 1 week you can't panic, and that'd be one lesson from today would be, if you got a guy like Jamaal Charles, for example, don't panic yet. I always say give him a couple of weeks. Anybody else that made you just kind of want to push the panic button week 1?
Eddie Lacy.
Eddie Lacy, of
Of
course,
course, had an
with his
injury.
concussion history, but I'm panicking again, just like I did with Tom Brady last year. Last year he had all these new guys. This year it should be a little bit different for him because he's got some work with these young guys. Miami's defense, I don't think gets enough credit. I'm a little worried about Brady. Not so worried, but I'm a little worried about Brady.
Time to push the panic button on Doug Martin.
Hurt again.
The kid behind him looked better. Rainey looked better.
Tony Romo owners, I might be pushing it and looking for another option. Anybody else before we move into looking at week 2?
Of course, Eli couldn't hit the side of a barn last night, so.
Coming from a Giants fan.
Yeah. Took a chance on Eli last night to fill in for Cam Newton, and He's getting dropped this week.
For me personally, my lowest scoring guy in my league at NASCAR was Demarius Thomas. He had 3 catches for 40 yards. That was a little bit disappointing week 1, but I'm not going to hit the panic button on him just yet.
I think he gets moved up in the game plan this week. All right, let's talk about week 2. Let's go through. I'll start on this one. We're going to each try to name for you a stud and a dud. Week 2 studs. I'm going to give you a quarterback, running back, receiver. I like Andrew Luck this week. I think he's expect big things against Philly. That's going to be a fantasy smorgasbord in that game anyway. I love Gio Bernard. If you watch that game, he ran hard. 86% of the plays he was in, they game planned around him. Gio Bernard's going to have a big week. And again, I've mentioned him already, but Cordero Patterson, love him. Make sure he's in your lineup.
How about I'm going to go with Drew Brees as my quarterback going against Cleveland. Now, Cleveland does have a good corner over there. My running back, I'm going to go with Adrian Peterson. Matched up against New England. And then wide receiver.
There's going to be a lot of them this week.
A lot of big wide receivers. So, I mean,
I'm going to start at receiver. I think with Cam Newton playing, I think this Benjamin kid has a coming out party, especially playing against Detroit. They can't stop anybody defensively. For quarterback, I'm going to throw it out there. Monday night, I like Nick Foles. I like how that kid
I agree.
took a beating in the first half of that game and came back and started throwing darts. I like Foles, and the running back I like to want to see him again is this Monty Ball kid. I liked watching him run the ball.
He's going to have a big year. All right, let's talk about some duds for week 2. I'll start. I'll throw out one. And again, if you've got him, if you've got Matt Stafford, especially after this week, you don't bench him. But I would buffer your expectations week 2 against Carolina. I don't think you're going to see him light it up. That's a really good defense. So I'd have a tough time calling him a dud, but I'd say be careful of your expectations this week for Stafford.
I'd say the same thing on Tony Romo playing against Tennessee. Their defense looked really good.
Really good.
At Kansas City, they looked really good. So I'd buffer your expectations on him. And then, running back wise, Matt Forte in San Francisco, their D's pretty good. I don't know how Forte's going to do out there. Brand new stadium opening up, Levi.
It's going to be a big night.
Levi's stadium. Big night for them.
Anybody playing Seattle, I might want to sit against them. So that's the whole San Diego defense right there.
And San Diego last night struggled a little bit against Arizona. So again, in fact, I dropped their kicker this morning. All right, let's look at some of the we're going to call them fantasy feasts. We're going to look at 4 games each week that Vegas says there's going to be a lot of points scored, and what that means is you need to get all your players in that are on those teams. We'll start with New England, Minnesota.
I tell you, Minnesota's D looked really good. I know it's St. Louis, but still, they held them in check, and I don't know. I think.
Any running backs for New England? Do you put them in?
It's such a running back by committee mess. I'm a little worried about Tommy Brady for that game because Minnesota's D looks really good. The game's in Minnesota.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know how great that's going to be for the New England.
I got Shane Vereen, and I started him last week. He got 7 receptions, only 35 yards on the ground, but he does get a lot of balls thrown his way.
I don't generally start defenses against Tom Brady under any circumstances. So if you got Minnesota, you might throw him in. But again, I'm not expecting huge things there. Let's move on to an even better one. Kansas City at Denver. From a fantasy standpoint, it doesn't get a whole lot better. If we need to tell you to start anyone on the Broncos team, you shouldn't be playing fantasy football. So that goes without saying.
That Emmanuel Sanders kid made some catches.
Impressive.
They're fun teams to watch. Kansas City better do something. If they start 0-2, they're in big trouble.
Right. Looking for hopefully if this drug policy goes through, Wes Welker owners can get Wes Welker back on the field a little bit sooner.
Yeah, no,
it might be good that he's out.
Owner.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. Let's move on. I think let's look at Chicago, San Fran. Got some Chicago receivers banged up. Alshon Jeffrey owner is still a little worried about that. He had a hamstring, sat out the fourth quarter. Brandon Marshall tweaked his ankle. Both are expected to play, but make sure you check as we get closer to game time and have a substitute ready for both of those just in case. But if either of those are starting, you got to have them in your lineup.
I tell you, Vernon Davis looked good last weekend.
Kaepernick looked good. That Anquan Bolden looks always good. I just think it's going to be a tough game for Chicago on the road in that new stadium. I mean, they've been longing for a new stadium for a long, long time.
Yeah.
They're going to bring in all the heroes, Montana. They'll all be out there.
Roger Craig.
They'll all be out there.
Jerry
Chicago's got a lot of weapons, and don't look now. Jay Cutler is going to finish the season, I believe, as a top 6 quarterback in fantasy.
I'm going to go the other way on that.
All right.
One, so we'll have to roll the tape.
All right, the last one, Monday Nighter, a big one.
Ooh,
Philly,
yeah.
Indianapolis.
Love
I
it.
start all my Eagles. Start them all.
I would-
Tight end, running back.
And
receiver.
including Sproles is a strong flex play. My fear on McCoy this year was Sproles takes away some time. We saw him break off a long one, but I think there's going to be plenty of touches for McCoy. Although on the other side, is there an Indianapolis Colt running back that you start?
Well, right now, I think Bradshaw looked much better than Richardson. I would start Bradshaw if you got into a bind like I might have to do. So I would start Bradshaw, but there's this Heron kid that looks pretty good behind those two guys.
And don't look now. Reggie Wayne looked like the Reggie Wayne of old.
He did
was
look
pretty
good, but then
impressive.
he tweaked his knee on one play. I'm a little worried about that, but I tell you, those tight ends are good. That Dwayne Allen kid's good. I think he's got a leg up on Fleener. Hicks looks good again.
If you have either of those quarterbacks, start them with confidence. It's going to be a big night. The only negative is you got to wait till you got to wait. You're probably going to be coming from behind, but it'll be a lot of fun.
That about wraps it up.
Yeah, I mean, it's week 1 in the books, and make sure you look at the waiver wire. Make sure you're paying attention. The early weeks are where these studs, you miss some of these guys, and you're not paying attention. These young receivers are out there. There's some running backs.
Don't underestimate the value of a defense. So look at the matchup. You can pick up a defense, a plug and play for 1 week. Right now, St. Louis is going to be the en vogue team to start your defense against. So maybe take a look at that game. Tampa Bay, maybe pick up Tampa Bay's defense, throw them in there for a week, start them against St. Louis. It's moves like that are going to help you win your championship. You don't have to plug and play every week. You can make some moves.
Don't panic and drop guys you think might be good. Just it's week 1. Just don't panic.
Give them another week and then drop them.
Then
so, good luck this week. We're glad to be back for another year of Fantasy Focus. And here's to Pernsky being 2-0 next week.
And the good fellas.
Don't forget to tweet us your questions and at Pernsky.
Don't tweet him his questions.
At Crawford76. And
I think I meant Joey DNC.
Joey D. That's
Joey DNC. That's it.
whatever's on the screen, tweet us at that.